get down.
Welcome to Lift Free Online, where we discuss the skills and drills behind Olympic weightlifting. Today we have a full training session for you to follow, for you to utilize to make sure that your positioning is accurate, make sure that your timing is as perfect as possible, and to make sure that you are progressing in your lifts regardless of where you are at in terms of beginner, intermediate, or advanced athlete. It's always important to break the movements down to a foundational basis, to a fundamental basis to make sure that we are constantly improving and constantly touching on our weak points in order to be a better athlete. We are going to start today. We always start our training with some snatch work to really prime our nervous system. Snatches are the most complex lift of the snatch and the clean and jerk. That's why they go first in competition. So we very commonly put the snatch first in a training session to make sure that you guys are not only fresh for your guys' training set, but you are also fresh neurologically as well, because it does take a lot of coordination in order to snatch. We've been slowly progressing through a lot of different snatch work, whether it's muscle snatches, whether it's power snatches, or full snatches. We are working through a lot of different drills to address some common faults that I see in the snatch. Today we are going to work through muscle snatches with no touch and going immediately into overhead squats after we are completed. We did this last week, really working on proper sequencing of the movement. When we don't utilize the hip to gain momentum, we have to make sure that our bodies are moving at the exact right point of time, the exact proper sequence in time to ensure that we are going to make the lift and not just utilize power of our hips. So we are going to do 4 muscle snatches and 2 overhead squats. The muscle snatch will not have a touch. I would prefer these to be empty bar sets, very little weight, if any, just because it is a primal exercise, because we're trying to prime the system before we move into the snatch work, which will be able to add a little bit more weight. So what I'm looking for in this snatch: good positioning off the floor, making sure that our chest is staying up, making sure that our shoulders stay on top of the bar, and really ensuring that our body is fully moving as one with the bar, not your body moving prior to the bar. So nice wide grip on the bar, making sure that the chest stays up, elbows point out. We should have learned this through all of the sets of the lift free progression. If the elbows are out, the bar pulls straight. If the elbows point back, the bar goes away. You always want as much advantage as possible to keep the bar as close to the midline as you can. So once the bar is down on the floor, I get myself set up, make sure that my knees are moving out of the way of the bar, my weight is transitioned forward into the ball of my foot, my chest is staying up, and I'm constantly focusing on keeping the shoulder on top or over the bar. And what we mean by that is this would be shoulders back behind the bar. If my setup is here, even if I'm a little bit more active in this position, the bar is already out in front of the middle of your body, which is where we get all of our power and stability from. So almost always your body's gonna start moving. You'll get the center of gravity over the bar, then the bar will finally start going. But as soon as the bar goes up, you can see that my legs are almost already straight. So we lose all the power that our legs can generate into the barbell. So we don't want to do that. Have to make sure that we're putting our mass on top of the bar. So to do that, we focus on keeping the shoulders on top of the bar. From here, I'm gonna start to stand. Remember, it's slow, steady off the floor. We start to speed up a little bit once that bar gets past our knees. Once the bar is at our hips, we're not using the hips to bang into the bar today. We're using our hips to extend upward along with the bar. Exactly what you would do if you did have contact point in the bar. We're just not making contact. So a little bit of brushing is okay. I just don't want to hear the bar banging into the hip or hear your hip banging into the bar. Really focusing on proper movement, proper extension up with everything, the bar and your body, to make sure that you're not bumping that bar away. One of the most common faults that I see, especially for people that don't make contact and want to make contact because they see it on hook grip and they're like, that is the way I need to snatch because I can see that bar hitting their hips. I need to use my hips to hit the bar. That is a misconception. Yes, we do utilize the power of the hips, but it's really our knees scooping back under the bar and everything extending upwards together. If you think of two streams of water coming together at one time, right? So you have a big jet stream of water here, big jet stream of water here. They're both going at each other at the same speed. They're gonna hit one another and immediately go up. That's where our thought process is with the barbell. If our body is moving in the proper sequence and our body's extending up, and we're pulling that bar into our bodies, using our lats to keep it close to the hips, once we get everything up to the hips, everything is coming together and extending upwards, and guess what? The bar is gonna go up. If you are using your hips to extend outwards, the bar is gonna bounce away, and then you're constantly gonna be fighting to catch back up to the bar. So again, really focusing on the movement pattern of the muscle snatch, using the legs, proper timing, getting underneath the bar nice and fast, good strong push through or transition from that pulling to press. Once we do 4 of them, we keep the bar up overhead and then we practice 2 overhead squats, getting yourself comfortable to get underneath the bar because we will be doing full snatches once we are done with the muscle snatch work. So take your time with this, use it as a warm up, and then I'll see you back here for our snatch stuff once you guys are done. We are going to move into our full snatch work. We have 5 sets of 3 snatches. Each of these full snatches are going to be with no touch. So our bodies have to move in the exact right sequence. Last week we did no touch power snatches, and you guys understand how tough it is to really time the bar. Hopefully by the time we got down to those last couple reps in the last couple sets, things felt easier, that you got a little bit more used to the movement. I know it takes a little while to really understand how the bar is moving, how your body is moving the bar, and where you are actually using your legs, extending, pulling. But the more practice you do of this, once we move back to actually using that contact point, you'll find that your extension and your pull are much more vertical than they are going out horizontal in any direction. So with our snatch work, we have to remember we just did muscle snatches and overhead squats. We have not been dynamic in the snatch work yet. We've not done any power snatches. We have not done any full snatches. So that means before you guys get into actually doing full snatches, I would advise you to do a couple repetitions of some dynamic movement. What I would do is, now that my muscle snatches are done, now that my overhead squats are done, I would probably move to a muscle snatch to snatch balance. Then I would move to a power snatch to snatch balance. Then I would do a couple full snatches. That way, we are actually priming your system to full snatch. So yes, we've primed it to move the bar from the floor in a wide grip, all the way from the ground to overhead. We've primed the system to overhead squat and actually stabilize weight that's over your head, but we have not primed anything to be dynamic as of yet. So make sure that you guys get those reps in. Again, up to you to what you want to do, but I would highly suggest changing it up, figuring out what you like the best, and then moving into our full snatch practice. Before I go into my warm-up and before you guys can see what I'm going to do to get ready for my snatches, I do want to touch on a couple things just to make sure that you guys are doing this drill properly. Same thing here, I'd highly advise starting light, making sure that you understand what is happening with your body and where the bar is going to go, and then we can build up from there, but in very small increments. So with the snatch no touch work, same positioning from the floor, same exact movement basically from the floor up to that extension point, except now once we extend, once we start pulling, we have to actually be moving our feet and pulling ourselves aggressively underneath the bar. This is where a lot of athletes go wrong, including myself. So coming from a background of where I learned how to Olympic lift when I was 14 for sport, for ice hockey. Then I went to college and played ice hockey. We did Olympic lifting, but nobody actually taught it in the proper way because we weren't specializing in that type of training. So yes, we were snatching, yes, we were cleaning, but no one was really focused on improving those components. We were focusing on being powerful and being aggressive for ice hockey. After I graduated college, I found CrossFit right away, which a lot of people did in 2009, 2010-ish. So I went into CrossFit, already understanding how to Olympic lift, but again, more so for just sport development. So when I started Olympic lifting and found that I really liked it and enjoyed doing it and actually finally sought out help for it, I had a lot of issues with just trying to be as fast as I possibly can and using my strength as much as I can, which is usually people's downfall when you are strong. You tend to overpower the bar and we focus on just being strong and just being as fast as we can. Then all of a sudden we hit a plateau and we wonder why that's happening. It's almost always associated with the ability to pull yourself under the bar effectively and efficiently. So barring all issues with early arm bend, hitting the bar out in front of you, if we take those issues out and we just focus on your ability to stay connected with the bar, I would say a very large percentage of athletes that come into the sport of Olympic lifting already knowing how to Olympic lift, that's where their main fault lies. So just make sure that you guys are spending time on this, because as soon as you get better at this and improve at this, that plateau of where your lifting is at right now is going to diminish. You're going to jump past that plateau and you're going to efficiently get much better and better and better very quickly. So this drill is really going to help you do that, but only if you don't jump the gun and go too heavy too soon. So I'm gonna start my positioning exact same as my muscle snatch. As I stand, I'm using my legs to push against the ground. Bar gets past my knees, I start to speed up. My knees come back underneath the bar. Once I'm here, again, I'm not hitting the bar into my hips. I'm keeping it as close as I possibly can, extending and pulling. So right when I extend, if my arms are relaxed, the bar is gonna start coming upwards. I continue that upward momentum with my pull. So once I extend, that bar starts coming up, I now start pulling. Now is where I start my pull underneath the bar. So regardless if the bar is still coming up, I need to start coming underneath the bar. So once I hit this position, I need to start pulling myself under. My feet are going to move, which is hard to do as you're holding an extended position. And then I'm gonna start to pull myself under the bar. So right when it's here, I'm starting to pull under, hitting that bar up and overhead and catching it as strong as I possibly can. So I'm not jamming myself in the bottom, I'm connecting with the bar high and then riding everything down together. Okay, you are in control of the bar is not in control of your body. So really practice that as we get into the full snatch work, that you are under control the entire time. We have 5 sets to get used to this. Again, please warm yourself up dynamically prior to getting into your full snatch work. Good work on your snatches. We are now going to move into our clean and jerks. Today we're doing power cleans into our jerks. So we have 3 power cleans and 2 jerks. Again, relatively high repetitions of this. I really want us focused on actually being able to jerk properly, even when you are fatigued. So we won't be able to do that high of weight in these because we do have 3 full power cleans and then 2 jerks immediately after. We're doing 6 sets of this. So it is going to be rather excessive in terms of volume because I want you to feel tired. One of the ways that we do this when we're programming Olympic lifting, when we program high volume, your body is going to feel fatigued, going to feel tired, and it's going to make the bar, even though it's not heavy percentage-wise per se, it is going to make the bar feel heavier. So it's a way that we can actually stress your system and fatigue your system without having to go heavy every single day. So we utilize this technique to make sure that you are able to jerk under stress and that we're actually putting more stress on your body, stress in a good way, not like you are stressed out from school or work. Stressing your system and stressing your central nervous system is necessary to ensure that we are making proper adaptation to your body every single training session. So we are going to start with our power clean work. This is going to be a power clean from the floor. Anytime we work on clean work, your main focus is connecting properly with the bar, not letting the bar slam down on top of your body. connecting with the bar efficiently, making sure that you're pulling the bar to your shoulder and not any higher. So as soon as it gets down to the shoulder, you are accepting that weight strong. There's no movement after the catch. So as soon as you catch that bar, as soon as it lands on the shoulder, everything stops as hard as it can. If you're not set up underneath the bar, eventually the bar is going to get so heavy and it's going to jackhammer you down. If you're not tight against the bar, you're just going to make it yourself move into a full squat, which we don't want to see. Going into our split jerk work, if you are a split jerker, split jerk. If you are a pusher, power jerker, go ahead and push or power jerk. Whatever you would do in a competition, that's how I want you jerking today. I am a split jerker, so I'm going to go over split jerk technique. Again, you can go over whatever jerk technique you want. Main difference is as soon as we go to drop underneath the bar, that's where the differentiation occurs. So what we were practicing today, power cleans we already addressed, making sure that we're getting underneath the bar, keeping everything stable and strong. When we go into our jerk work, main focus for you, coming down and up in the same path, okay? So I always give this kind of visual. This is what comes to my mind. Some people say pretend like you're in a really small room. I usually just say pretend like somebody stabbed the pole all the way through your body. I don't know if it's a little gruesome and that's why people don't use that, but to me, it makes the most sense. So if I had a pole that was shoved into my head that went down into the platform, into my dip, and into my drive, and into my drop, I stay immediately on this line. So I don't move forward with my chest, I don't move forward with my whole body and straighten this back leg, and I also don't push everything backwards. So you have to go straight down, straight up, straight back down, because our whole purpose and our whole goal is getting that bar from the front of our body, which is where we are weaker because it's away from our midline, to our midline, right back to that strong catch position, just like we would in our snatch work. So we don't want any forward movement because the bar is just going to roll forward off your chest. And we also don't want any backwards movement because now we're just going to pop that bar straight up and then our body's pulling out and away from it. So you are making sure that you're dipping straight down, you're driving straight up, and you're coming right back down underneath the bar. If you have the issue of tight roping, where we kind of like get those legs too close together and we're kind of balancing, just focus on actually stepping out with your front leg to the side a little bit more. Okay, so if this moves out to the side, and even if this leg moves straight back, I'm still at a wider stance than what I would be if I didn't focus on that point. Another fault that I see sometimes in the jerk is that back leg being straight. So we pull back and that back leg straightens. Anytime this is going to happen, you're almost always going to be pushing yourself forward onto that front quad. So we got to get to the point where you can just give a little bit of bend in that back knee. If you really think about this jerk, as soon as I dip and drive, my back foot is really only sliding back about a foot distance. So I'm sliding it back and planting the toe and then making sure that this leg is coming underneath the bar. One thing that really helps, or really helped me kind of wrap my head around this a little bit more, is I'm driving the bar up and then I'm using my leg as almost like a shock absorber when I catch the bar. So as I catch, I have a little bit of soft knee bend to make sure that everything is coming down, not on a straight solid leg, but on a nice little spring system. So that can be a focus of yours as well. There's a lot of other little tiny faults that happen with the jerk, but mainly I want you just focusing on dipping straight down, driving straight up, and trying your best to get right back underneath the bar. We have, again, 3 power cleans, 2 jerks. We're doing this for 6 total sets. So you have a lot of time to practice your movement patterns. Start light, make sure everything is connected, make sure everything is snappy, and then move up from there when you're ready. we move on from our clean work into our back squats. Today we're doing back squats, whatever weight you choose to do. I want you to finish four really solid reps. So I don't want you struggling on any other rep than the fourth one. We have 5 sets of this. Very typically 80% for a set of 3 is gonna be a hard set of 3. So we have to think if we're doing 4, you probably should be somewhere between 70 to 75%. Most likely less than that if you are a little less experienced in the back squat, because we want your body moving efficiently, right? So we don't want the hips shooting up before the chest. We really want everything to be as in line as possible because we want the leg strength to translate to your snatch and your clean and jerk. And if your chest drops in either the snatch or the clean and jerk or your jerk, just in general, you're almost always going to have a really hard time standing it up, or you're going to lose the weight in front of you. So our focus needs to be controlling the weight on the way down, not dropping into your squat, and then standing up fast. The change of direction or the speed, it should be slow on the way down, control on the way down. As soon as we hit that bottom position, then you should be driving up, and we should see the speed of the lift happen in the concentric portion of the lift, not the eccentric. So on the way up, not the way down. I'm not gonna do these with the barbell. I'm just gonna show you what these should look like with the PVC pipe. Hands should be about shoulder distance apart, a little bit wider, about a thumb distance wider. So if you put your hands up at your thumb or at your shoulders and walk your way into the bar, that's where our grip should be for your back squat. I'm also looking at the wrist stackability. So when you come underneath the bar, I don't want that wrist to look like this. I want the elbow staying back behind the bar. So your forearm, it should be a straight line. This way we can kind of utilize the scoop of the elbow, just a very small motion, about maybe 1 inch or less of a scoop that will help kind of pick up the chest and help activate the back as we stand up. So hands are shoulder width apart. My far knuckles should be facing somewhat towards the ceiling, maybe a little bit back behind me, but not going forward and not pointing all the way directly back. Once I'm in my position for my back squat, this is what I should look like. Shoulders are squeezing back together. Elbows are actually almost like they're trying to pinch back together to make sure that we're staying stable along the bar. One thing that drives me crazy about the back squat is when I watch people walk the bar off the rack and it looks like this. You should be as stable as you possibly can against the bar, underneath the bar, so we can pick it up and just take a couple steps, solid steps back. Getting our feet set to about 45-degree angle pointing out, shoulder width apart, maybe a little bit wider, not any wider than shoulder width though. Once we're in this position, I'm bringing my hips back towards my heels, have a slight lean forward of the chest, and then driving my way out of that. So if you watch this from the side, slow, controlled, squeeze your way down, drive yourself up. So as I come down, I'm letting my knees kind of push forward without losing the stability from the back portion of my foot. Hitting that bottom position, making sure that my weight is stacked over the middle of my thigh, which is over the middle of my shoe, and then standing up nice and strong, leading with the chest, not the hips. As soon as the hips start to raise first, I want you dropping the weight to make sure that you can keep that chest up a little bit stronger. The battle and the fight should be you pushing your chest up and nothing happening, not you pushing your hips up and now the bar's out of positioning and that's why you are failing. We don't want to see that. So I want you guys to give me 5 sets of 4 reps of back squats and then meet me back here for our snatch deadlift work. We're gonna finish up our session with some snatch deadlift work. We're doing 6 sets of 4 repetitions. I want you to focus solely on positioning here. Just like we did in the back squat, the hips do not raise up first. Everything is moving together. We are going slow, controlled off the ground. Arms are staying relaxed. There's no bend in the arm. Once the bar gets past the knees, we're pulling that thing, scraping it along the thighs, and getting that guy up to our hip positioning or our power positioning and stopping there. Anytime I ask my athletes to do a snatch deadlift, this may be different from your coach, so do whatever your coach tells you to do. I'm not telling you to do something different, but the way that I coach it, in the snatch deadlift, we do not reach full extension. We don't lock our legs out or lock our hips out. We come up to that position just right before we go into extension. So as I get in my snatch position, my chest is up. I'm gonna really work on pushing through the floor with my feet. Once that bar gets to my knees move back and slightly out of the way. Once I get to the knees or past the knees, I scrape this thing along my thigh, pull it in nice and strong to the hip, and then I come to this position. So that bar's smack up against my hips, my chest is up, my elbows are out. Once I'm here with a full flat foot on the ground, I then bring that bar back down. So coming back up, slow, a little faster, and back down. No dynamic movement at the top. We're not pulling, we're not extending. I'll show you a couple sets with just empty bar, or not empty bar, with just a loaded bar, and then I'll let you guys add it to finish off your training today.
Follow me,